Welcome back, everyone, to Chapter 2 of EDF Insect Armageddon, as presented by Taterchimp, Spudmonk, Chris, Verizon Wireless, Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, and Cadbury Schweppes, oddly enough. I don't know what it was. There's some project in like high school or something where we had to invest in stock, and I was like, well, how about someone who isn't Pepsi and isn't Coke? And everyone's like, what does that leave? And I actually had to look it up, and I'm like, I guess that's Cadbury Schweppes? The one that no one knows? The one that makes it so that none of the other two have a monopoly? So let's see, Chapter 2 actually starts to ramp up the difficulty a little bit, adds a few more enemies on screen, but actually nothing too drastic. We'll be introduced to a couple new boss characters in here, which is going to be nice. I believe there's one in this level, and then another one in the next level. But for right now, we're just taking out some carriers to start things off. So because we're using level 6 weapons against hard difficulty carriers, that actually isn't too big of a chore. Again, you just be a little bit cautious when you see a carrier crashing. They do a ton of damage to you, pretty much an unfair amount, so you do want to stay away. But that takes care of that one. So I'm pretty happy with my decision to kind of expedite things by grinding out a bit. Because those can be kind of boring. It's basically the same strategy. There's nothing really interesting or new with that. And yeah, also makes it so that I switched up the recordings on the last episode to a full 1080p. I noticed I was in some weird like 1372, so the episodes being a little bit shorter is also nicer on my external hard drive. Alright, so now we get to do the same thing that we did in level 1 again. They repeat this a few times throughout the game, which I guess they created the essence for it. They're not just going to let that one go. It is best if you can destroy all the enemies before they get to the ship, because then you get the points for it. Hectors, obviously, you're not going to blow up beforehand, but using our patented strategy of get right up in their face with a super shotgun, we should be able to make a pretty short work of this guy. And again, aiming mostly for the chest, so we've got a lot of criticals there, and he went down in pretty much a matter of seconds. If I would have been smarter and had a timer, I could have told you how many seconds, but I didn't, and I'm not. So, deal with it. So yeah, this level, let's see. Important things about this level, not really much of anything. This is still a pretty standard run and gun. Not too many strategic things to talk about at this point. I don't think that I've talked about yet how the weapon drops in 2017 worked, and I know there were actually a lot of games in the series before that, but I never played them. I just saw EDF 2017 for 20 bucks, new, and I was like, well, that's something different. So I decided to give it a go. It actually wound up being one of my favorite games of the generation, just because it was a good budget game done right. They knew what they wanted it to be. But the way that the weapons drops worked in that game was they would drop based on the difficulty level, not necessarily based on your current level. So if you're playing on the hard difficulty, you might get a weapon that could carry you, theoretically, through the rest of the game. Now, the levels were a lot more varied, so the chances were a lot lower of you using it for, 10 hours in a row. But still, like, you would have to pick weapons based on what the level called for. But it still had the opportunity where you pick up something really good because you just kind of did a little bit of sequence breaking. In this, you're kind of stuck with your current level. The flip side of that, though, is that your health wasn't leveled in the first game. Before I move too far away from that, the weapons that you got in that game were also all free. In this game, you do have to unlock them through purchasing, so you are a little bit restricted unless you pick it up from a boss character kind of drop. So if you get it from the drop, you can use it right away. Otherwise, you have to purchase it, and purchase using the same points that you collect to level up your character. So, no, okay. I was like, did I just cancel a reload animation? No, I switched weapons. Controls are still throwing me off. But the kind of bad thing about the first EDF game, as far as grinding is concerned, is that you had a constant health bar that you moved up level to level. So let's say that you start with 500 health. There's an item that all enemies could drop that added a permanent, I think it was 2 health per item. So in theory, you could play the game over and over and over again to get yourself up to, 7,000 health instead of what you started with. So this guy, real quick, he spawns more of the ticks. He has a little charge move. That's pretty much all that he does. He can shoot them at you from a distance, but it's nothing to be too concerned with. Basic strategies, if you can kind of get behind him, you can do a pretty good strafe, but your allies will sometimes block you from that. Or just use my current favorite strategy of get real close with the shotgun. As you can tell, that did a number on me. These ticks, you'll just see me not caring about them a lot, just because I usually can never mash Y fast enough to get them off of me, so I just don't even bother. I just take the hit. I don't think that you take reduced damage from it, so it's not a big difference. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about the original EDF, that whole grinding out for health really annoyed me, because on the hard difficulties for that game, it was absolutely essential that you had significantly higher health. So it just kind of made it, I don't know, a little more annoying than it needed to be, but still a great game. Still highly recommend it. So that takes care of this level. All 261 enemies in it. We're a little bit closer, as always. And we got a new rocket launcher for the battle class. So whoop-de-doo. So I will see you guys next time.